Hello everyone, welcome back to Chess Comic. Today, we travel back to 1972 in Reykjavik, Iceland, to witness the Game 1 of the World Chess Championship between the Soviet machine with the current or reigning World Chess Champion that time, Boris Spassky, and the American lone wolf genius, Robert James Bobby Fischer. And now here's the thing. The game itself, it's pretty easy to understand. But what makes this game legendary is everything that happened behind the scenes. But before we discuss that, first, let's go over the game. Okay? So here, Fischer is playing black and Spassky is playing white. So Spassky played d4. This is his favorite d4. Okay? Knight f6, c4, and Fischer played e6. Now, this is the first thing that a chess fan would notice. One of Fischer's favorite line is the King's Indian, and he didn't play it. So, anyway, since he's the best player in the world during that time, he can just do whatever he wants, right? So, knight f3 was played, d5, c3, bishop b4. This is like the Ragozin defense, but it was transposed to the normal Nimzo Indian line. I think it was the Gligorich system. So, let's continue. So, everything that you are seeing right now is still part of the line. c6, a3, bishop a5. Yeah, this is just all part of the line. And as you can see, excuse me, everything is balanced, pretty equal. Bishop b6. So, I mean, in my honest opinion, right, for the first game, this is like a boring first game. Although, when you play the first game, there's also what we call the sizing up of your opponent. You're just trying to figure out what your opponent can do, try to feel your opponent, just like what both of them was doing. Although for me, Spassky has the slightest disadvantage. I mean, with this what they call this sizing up, because he's playing white, and if this game ended up in a draw, he lost or wasted his white color. Because when you're white, you always have the slightest advantage because you move first. You dictate the tempo. So here, bishop to d7. If you think white can play bishop takes f6 and capture, nope, not yet, because the rook on a1 is hanging. That's why here, Spassky played rook ac1. Now, this is his threat. Capture, capture, and win the bishop. And obviously, do you think Fischer will actually miss that? Of course not. He played rook f to d8. Knight d4 was played. Knight 6, knight 6. Bishop a4. So there's really nothing much to analyze in this game. As you can see, no blunder was being played. Everything is balanced. Trading off pieces. There are only two open files in which none of them will be able to capitalize. After rook takes d1, rook takes d1, rook c8, both of them got their own open files, but there's really no inflicting damage. For example, black is able to play rook c2, white will just play rook d2, and then the rook will eventually have to go back or trade. And here the white rook cannot go anywhere, right? Inside of black's camp. So it's really balanced. King f1, okay, king f8. Now it's time for the king to move, but it's not really going to do anything. Trade, trade, f6, knight a5. It will be met by what? Knight d6, defending the pawn, because this is a shallow threat. King d3, bishop d8. Oh, this one. Of course, the logic is to take the knight and then make white structure much worse, right? Giving white a double pawn. Of course, Spassky won't allow that. And then bishop c7 takes. And here goes b5. This position was given to me when I was 1800, okay? The question was, is it good for black to take the pawn on h2? And I was able to solve it in less than 5 minutes. And my answer is no, because I knew that the pawn on h2 is very poisonous, that even my dear friend Stockfish will say, bro, don't touch that, something like that. And I must have, oh, okay, sawfish, I won't touch it. But would you believe Fischer took the pawn? He could have just simply played king f7. He could have just simply played king e7, but not take the pawn. And you'll see what happened. Pawn to g3. A typical way to trap a bishop that captures a rook pawn. Same thing goes when a bishop captures a pawn in a2. If white is able to play b3 and the pawn is protected, bishop gets trapped. Same thing here. So this is how you typically trap a bishop. And then h5 was played. Here goes king to e2, h4, king to f3. This is the point. White will not take. White will just protect the pawn. And let's go back. Okay, coach, there's a thing here. What if black played h3 to stop the king from going to g2? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But there is this move. Wapak! Going to capture the pawn. If Fischer plays bishop to g1, wapak! Fischer captures. Wapak! You're trying to escape? No, 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 Jose. You'll be there forever. Now I'm going to trap you, king g2. That's what's going to happen. Okay? So now, let's go back to what really happened to the game. So after h4 and king f3, Fischer has already given up that, okay, has accepted, okay, my bishop's going to get trapped. But honestly, I believe he would have seen it. Okay? So let's just continue. King to e7 was played. King g2. Obviously, the bishop is trapped. Instead of losing without taking anything, he will take a pawn. King d6 was played. a4. This is actually like a clinical class now for the reigning world champion, Boris Spassky. King d5, bishop a3. I super love this idea. Trying to attack the pawn. The main idea is to attack the pawn in f8. Okay? And then, of course, protecting this b5 pawn. King e4. Ta-da. All right. a6 was played. Oh, coach, what if black plays something like b6? Okay, if black plays b6, you know what's the move? Bloop. And it's game over. Because after bishop takes b6, pawn captures, and here goes pawn to a5. Wapak! I mean, another great move, right? If the pawn takes, this goes to college. If king goes to d5, this goes to college. This is the rule of square. There is no way for the king to come closer because it's being cut off by another white pawn. So going back, back, and back. That's why Spassky played pawn to a6. And, sorry, Fischer played pawn to a6, and then Spassky just fixed it. There's a theory here. If you've got a minor piece, you're up by material like a minor piece, you will avoid trading off the pawns because you would want to have more pawns, so you will have more chances of promoting a pawn. Okay, so you would avoid trading off pawns. But of course, that's a theory. It depends upon the position. Fischer played f5, king h4 was played, great move, preventing pawn to g5, and then f4 was played. I mean, another blunder, but it doesn't really matter now because this is just like a clinic for a master, a grandmaster, a reigning world champion. It was just take and take. Then king h5. So Spassky is trying to control this pawn. Actually, now what he's trying to do is to go over here, capture, because the bishop is controlling the promoting square of the g pawn. Okay? And here goes king f5. Fischer is trying to stop the king from going to g6, right? From crossing the bridge. Spassky just played bishop e3. This is the thing. The bishop, right? The bishop will just make you run out of moves. King e4, bishop f2, king f5, bishop h4. Now, Spassky is forced to push his pawn, right? He just can't keep on moving his king because now, after he moves his king, there's no bishop to attack on e3. then the king can go to g6. See? Bishop g5, e4, bishop e3. Now it's fixed. King f6, here goes king g4. King e5, king g5. So it's just like fixing, Fischer's pawn structure and forcing the king to move. Look, g5 simply takes. King moves, king comes closer. Now, king attacks the a4 pawn, it doesn't really matter because this bishop will be able to prevent or guard the promoting square while the king can just go after this pawn on b7. That's why now Spassky resigned. Now, as you can see, the game was pretty easy, right? So the real question is, did Fischer lose on purpose? Because I myself, being an 1800, was able to realize and was able to calculate that bishop takes h2 is a blunder. Or was he just really distracted because of the camera issues during that time? Was he too confident, thinking that, I can just beat my opponent, right? Or was he protesting against the organizers because they were not meeting his demands? Or did he just really blunder? Because after all, at the end of the day, even a genius is still a human. So, you can comment your opinion down below. And until next time, bye bye everyone!